Hey guys, today we're going to keep looking at the causes of the Civil War. This was a newspaper comic from 1860. It showed the presidential race at the time. So all four of these guys wanted to be president, but the one who would win is this guy right here, Abraham Lincoln. You can see them racing to the White House in the background. Abraham Lincoln opposed slavery, so even though he had not said that he would make slavery illegal because he did not want new slave states when he became president, a group of states tried to leave the United States so that they could keep slavery. This started a war we call the Civil War. So we've got some vocabulary to go over first. Secession. Secession is the withdrawal of one or more states from the Union. So it's when states try and leave the United States. That's what secession means. Once again, secession is when states try and leave the United States. What's secession? So an armory is a building where weapons are stored, so a building where guns and cannons and ammunition are stored. Resources, you guys know this, are goods and materials needed to complete a project. And a mint, as well as something that keeps your breath smelling nice, is a building in which the government manufactures, so makes money. So a mint is where they print dollar bills. So at the start of the Civil War, 7 southern states seceded when Abraham Lincoln was elected president. So these states left the United States when Abraham Lincoln got elected, or they tried to. They called themselves the Confederate States of America. Lincoln refused to recognize secession and tried to keep the country together. So Abraham Lincoln said, "You're not allowed to just get up and leave the United States. That's not legal." Confederate officials began seizing, so taking control of federal mint branches and arsenals. So they took control of the places where the government printed money and where the government kept their guns. Why do you think the states that were trying to leave the US wanted money and guns? So the fighting would start in Charleston, South Carolina, at a place called Fort Sumter. Fort Sumter was a federal outpost in Charleston, South Carolina. So that means that it was a fort run by the federal government, by the government of the whole United States, and Confederate forces asked it to surrender. So you can see this flag is the flag of the Confederacy of the South, of people who wanted to keep slaves. And you can see they've surrounded the fort and they're asking it to surrender. Lincoln refused to surrender and sent ships with supplies to the fort. On April 12th, 1861, Confederate cannons fired on the fort. 34 hours later, Fort Sumter surrendered and the Civil War began. What year did the Civil War begin? So, people had a decision to make now. They had to choose sides. Lincoln declared that the South was in rebellion, meaning they were trying to fight the US government. Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and other states in the North sent soldiers to help Abraham Lincoln fight the states in rebellion. North Carolina, Tennessee, Arkansas, and Virginia joined the 7 states who had already seceded, who had already tried to leave the United States. So they joined the Confederate States of America. Border states, the ones in yellow, like Delaware, Kentucky, Maryland, and Missouri, still had slaves but stayed in the Union. So they said, listen, we want to keep slavery, but we don't think it's worth leaving the United States to try and keep slavery. What was going on with border states? What made border states different than other states in the Union? All right, guys, that's it for today. For Friday, we'll look at what happens when the fighting really starts to pick up.